Hey guys, I'm gonna record my reaction to our draft here. I'm gonna look at every team and just give my kind of initial thoughts. Tell you what I think here. We'll just start right away. We'll start with Eddie's team. Um, Eddie had the first pick, and he went with a lot of running backs. Was his first six picks. He picked four running backs. Um, in Dynasty, that can be pretty tough and can lead to a pretty tough outcome for your team if you don't just pick them all early. Um, I think that third round reversal is pretty tough here. The best running back on the board after that is like Gibson or Montgomery. Lots of guys with question marks: James Conner, Elliott. Um, so took the younger running backs in Taylor, Gibson, Cook, and Edwards. So at least like age wise, they're very young, so they could be good for a while. We don't know anything about James Cook. Gibson's getting a lot of bad press right now, which is fine. Preseason is whatever, but bad news in preseason is a little scary. Good news, like coaches love to hype good players in preseason. They'll hype anybody. But bad news is usually a little scarier to me. So I probably would have opted for like Montgomery or Connor or somebody else in that spot if I really wanted a running back. But that's, nitpicking about a player. So you've got Taylor and Tyreek Hill, Lamar Jackson. Those guys are going to score a ton of points. Brandon Cooks is like a pretty solid wide receiver too. And then after that, it's just hoping these flex spots and RB2 slot work out. Got a middle of the road tight end here. He's younger. Dawson Knox is younger. It's only 25, so maybe he turns into something awesome. He was pretty good last year. Kind of up and down season in terms of points scored, but yeah, it's not a bad team. I don't. I guess it just depends on what you think of these running backs. You're flexing Clyde and Cook, and your wide receiver depth is kind of lean here. And on the older side, you've got two older wide receivers in Hill and Cooks. So might need some wide receivers in the draft. You got to hope that some of these running backs, these three shots on running backs that you took, popped. But you at least have three solid players in Jackson, Hill, and Taylor, and somebody we know kind of what you're going to get with Cooks. So this could be like a middle-of-the-road team this year. I don't see it. I wouldn't predict it to win a championship or anything like that, but it really depends on these running backs. Anything could happen. You could tell me they finish running back 30-something for each one of these guys, and I wouldn't be surprised. Also, wouldn't be surprised if Gibson put up a top 10 or 15 season. So, and we'll see what happens with Kansas City. So, could be interesting. Not my favorite build, just with lots of running backs, but I get sort of the idea. Running backs are useful. So go to Josh. I think this is a really competitive team when I look at it. Chase, Kamara, Kittle. Those are all very awesome players. Hopkins, when he's healthy, Mitchell, Montgomery are good chances to take for your RB2 slot. But other than that, you got Juju and Michael Thomas. The QB slot is Derek Carr. He could be fine. He might be acceptable. Not the best play every week, but he could be acceptable. So I like it. This is a very competitive build, trying to win right now. And some younger players that could last a little while with Juju, Mitchell, Montgomery. Later picks, Tua is a great backup to have for this team. I really like that. And went on auto draft, so lots of weird stuff happened. Overall, I'm very competitive. Like this team a lot. Could be a playoff team for sure. Then looking at Collins' team, I think initially when I looked at Collins' team, this is one of my favorite teams. You've got young, awesome wide receivers with Jefferson, Elijah Moore. The Drake London pick really balances the team out in terms of age nicely. Just like a really young receiver. I mean, a lot of these players are pretty young. Jefferson, Dobbins, London, Elijah Moore, and then Dillon and Barkley. You know, Barkley's 25, Dillon is 24. So, I mean, they're young players too. I don't even know how old Dalton Schultz is. He's 26. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some good years ahead of him. But then you've got an older quarterback in Matthew Stafford and some other good picks like Lockett, Rondale Moore, Mac Jones. So this is a good team. It's got some good running backs. Got some really interesting talent at wide receiver with Elijah Moore and London at the wide receiver 2 spot. You just need one of these guys to pop. And if not, like Lockett could be a really good option. I think the flex plays will be interesting for this team. But overall, like solid quarterback, top 10 quarterback, solid tight end. Jefferson will lead the way. Barkley and Dobbins, surely one of them will have a good year. And then we really are hearing a lot of good news about A.J. Dillon. So I like this team a lot. I think it's really interesting. I think it could be good for a while. And I don't know if it's going to topple the best teams in the league this year because, other teams have cheat codes like Kamara on them. And there's no like running back cheat code here. Like Barkley should be in theory, but the Giants are just such a mess that I have a hard time believing he is a cheat code anymore. But we'll see. And Jefferson is obviously top at the position. Looking at Justin's team, lots of wide receivers anchored by a young running back in Najee. And Joe Burrow. So this team is not going to win this year. I'm just going to throw that out there. Lots of young players, lots of good young talent. I don't hate the Keenan Allen pick, even if it looks a little out of place in terms of this kind of build. I think you could trade him at some point, and he's going to be productive. It's going to be nice to have a productive player on your team. And we'll see how some of these guys do, like Jahan Dotson, Alec Pierce, Nico Collins is really interesting. And I really like the tight end pick here with Cole Kmet. That was someone I was targeting. But we'll see how it goes. I like this team. I think there's going to be a lot of good wide receivers here for years with Waddle, Judy, Mooney, and some of these younger players will come in. The running back 2 slot is going to be rough, but Spiller and Algier are good picks for future, production. So this is a good team. I like the build. It's built for the future. Probably going to want to try and get some picks for Keenan Allen, and we'll see what other picks you can get for players. But you really don't have to trade too many guys. Just see how they develop and see what happens. Maybe we'll see. So I like it. So let's look at David's team. We've got 3 solid wide receivers with Kupp, Deontay Johnson, and Amon-Ra. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes. So QB slot's locked up for a long time. I'm a big Pat Freiermuth fan. So that's an interesting tight end pick. I think he might not be like a stud this year, but next year I feel like he'll really come into his own. Usually takes tight ends like 3 years to be really awesome. The running back situation here is kind of rough. I'm not like a huge fan of it. James Conner is definitely due for some touchdown regression, and I don't really see Tony Pollard as like being the guy and once Zeke leaves. So I see him as like a decent flex play. And yeah, I think y'all know Singletary's not my favorite pick. I always pick on people who pick him in our mock drafts. I just don't see a ton of upside there for him or Carter. So Like, I get the idea behind some of these picks. You're kind of swinging and seeing what you can get out of it. But I think I would have liked this team better if this was like Garrett Wilson or um, Jamison Williams or someone like that. Just yeah, I don't think this team is competitive with the running backs that you have. I think it's a good team that's gonna um, get better with time. And the only old player here is Cup, and he's gonna be good for several years. So you've got a pretty solid window here to work with, but you're just going to have to figure out your running back situation. I think that's going to be a sore spot. Um, so if we look at, and I guess later picks, any notable later picks that I like. I mean, David Bell's interesting, interesting wide receiver pick. Could develop into something. He's not like athletically the craziest dude, but with Watson, who knows? I mean, he could be awesome. Kirk Cousins. I think people will be hoping they have a Kirk Cousins on their team at some point when some of these players maybe don't perform as well as advertised. And Jacoby Myers, those are all really interesting picks to me. Let's look at Zach's picks. So kind of went hero running back here with a strong pick with McCaffrey. So that's a lot of points scored. Higgins, really solid scorer when he played last year. So his points per game is really nice. Really young, really good offense. Travis Kelce's going to score a lot of points. So these three guys are going to score a lot of points. Love DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore. I think he's just always every year, perennially underrated. Very, very good player. He just gets open. He has like a really big problem with touchdowns, and like surely one of these years he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, again, great talent. Is he going to get the work that he wants, that everyone wants in Baltimore with that offense? Who knows? But he is the man now. So with Hollywood gone, Garrett Wilson, stud, absolute stud. I'm glad to see a pick like that here in like the 6th round, instead of like a Miles Sanders or Damian Harris. These kind of guys, this is such a big upside pick for you. What if Garrett Wilson turns into a wide receiver 1? I mean, your team just will skyrocket because of that. Pickens, oh my God, the Dynasty community loves Pickens. Those are really nice picks. And then you've got Brady here. Kareem Hunt is an interesting RB2. I mean, in all likelihood, he stays with the Browns, and he just continues to produce at kind of that RB2 level. Maybe during the playoffs when Watson's back and in a groove, like he could be really good. So you've got Brady, Kelce, McCaffrey, Higgins, DJ Moore. I think those are all pretty locked in as really solid starters this year. So over half your starting lineup is what I would call like very solid starters, and then the rest are kind of like a lot of potential to be good. Brian Robinson's also a really interesting pick. Could be the starter with all the Antonio Gibson fumble news. So this team could go either way. It could be really strong this year. Could be just a team for the future as well. Got Kenny Pickett to kind of fill in the Brady once Brady's gone. I like that. Overall, this is going to be a competitive team, and we'll see how some of these young guys go. If some of these young guys hit, then like Bateman, Wilson, or Pickens, if those guys hit, or Brian Robinson hits, this could be a really interesting competitive team. With Chase's team, looking at, so we've got, looks to me to be not like heavy on anything. It's got 2 very young running backs, a young receiver, and a young quarterback with his first 4 picks, and then kind of went older with some of these next couple picks. So his running back core is going to be good for a long time. Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, you're not trying to win this year with these two guys. Like, they're going to be good, but I just can't imagine they're going to win you the league this year. Like, Jacksonville and the Jets are just not good right now, and it's going to take them a while to get good. So, to me, those picks kind of signal that you're waiting on this team a little bit, maybe a year before you're competitive. Jalen Hurts could be awesome this year. And if he is, then your team's good for a long time. Like, if Jalen Hurts figures it out and is a really good passer, then your team's really good for a long time. So I see a lot of outcomes for this team. Like, one outcome is Jalen Hurts is bad, and the Jets and the Jags stay bad, and this team is a dumpster fire, right? Or the Jets and the Jags figure out their offense, and Hurts becomes a good thrower, and all of a sudden you're terrifying, because Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, they're very, very talented players. It's just like, is the situation going to be good or not for them? You know, are those teams going to turn it around? I would like to think they will. There's too much talent on each one of those offenses. I think they're investing in their offenses. So I have to believe that things are going to turn around for them. I'm liking some of these picks, like the Renfro pick. I think he's going to be rock solid in our league. I feel like if you were going like full youth movement, I would have preferred maybe a Jamison Williams, Sky Moore, those kind of picks, but you're kind of doing a little bit of a blended with the Cooper and Renfro and Goddard here, so you're not really forcing yourself into one strategy, but it's hard to see like the overall strategy, right? It's hard for me to say what's going to happen with this team. It's likely not competitive. That's my guess. But I like the upside of these three players. Like, could we easily be talking about Breece Hall and Etienne as like top 10 startup picks next year? For sure. And then Lamb is obviously pretty rock solid, so can't go wrong with him. On to, I guess I'll pick, a later pick that I like or want to call out. Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is rock solid flex play. I think that makes a lot of sense right there. And he'll be really useful for bye weeks. So I always like seeing him on somebody's team. All right, so let's look at Penny's team. He went for the classic Derrick Henry pick. See how long Derrick Henry lasts in the league. Could be the top overall player this year. Got Justin Herbert, so QB's locked up forever. So we'll never have to think about that again, which is nice. We'll see how all his flex spots go. Got some young receivers in Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave, and Gabe Davis. And opted to pick a tight end pretty early too in Darren Waller. So when you go like QB and tight end in your first 4 picks there, you're really going to make those RB2, wide receiver 2, or flex plays not as good. So like his best wide receiver is Terry McLaurin. That's maybe the worst. No, I think Akey, well, now that Akey's traded for A.J. Brown, which we'll talk about, I've got to believe that that Penny has one of the worst wide receiver ones. I guess Waldrop, he's got a better wide receiver one than Waldrop's team, and Lewis, but Lewis's team really doesn't count. Once we get into that, we'll. So I really like Olave. I think he can turn into something big, but he is questionable right now. We don't know. He's a rookie, so I think wide receivers are going to be a tough spot for this team. I do love the Josh Palmer pick later on. I think that's a really cheap investment for possibly a wide receiver too. Hines is also a great pick. I'm not sold on Cordero Patterson repeating his campaign last year. So with Mariota aboard, I just don't love that offense. I don't love investing in an older player in that offense. Like Pitts and Drake London make sense to me, but that's a future play. Miles Sanders just feels early, feels not worth it. But trying to fill out that starting lineup, I know that that's tempting, but like when you're starting Olave, Gabe Davis, Miles Sanders, in a league where we only start 8, like and you're gonna have to start Cordero Patterson. Do you think Patterson repeats? Is Gabe Davis going to be more than a wide receiver 2? Is Miles Sanders going to be more than like a flex play? Is Olave, are you expecting a rookie to be a top wide receiver? I just feel like you've got kind of a team, like a mixed team. Like Waller and Herbert and Henry are going to be top at their position. That's only 3 players out of 8. So the rest, I mean, Terry's never been a wide receiver 1. Maybe in our league you could call him a wide receiver 1. He's probably finished like 14th or something like that. Well, I mean, last year he finished wide receiver 25 in PPR. Is that going to change? Is Jahan Dotson and Carson Wentz coming to town going to change that? Is he going to be a top 12 wide receiver? Who knows? I don't like the wide receiver room for this year. I think maybe next year Olave could be something and be one of those top receivers, and that could be really good. But overall, I think wide receiver is going to be a tough point, and then I think running back 2 is going to be a tough point. Flex plays are going to be a tough point, and that's what you get for drafting a quarterback and a tight end early. Yeah, not unsalvageable, but if I had to predict what's going to happen with this team, midway through the year, it's going to be really tempting to sell Derrick Henry because maybe not winning a ton of games. Maybe I'm wrong, but that would be my prediction. So then Edmondson. So we've got Javonte Williams. He's young. He's going to be around for a long time. Great running back. Deebo Samuel, another young-ish. He's 26, I think. Wide receivers, so strong wide receiver 1 option. Kyler Murray. Not a huge fan of the Kyler pick. I would have waited. I don't know. Is he going to be that good? Is he going to be a top 5 quarterback for many years? Maybe. He does have the cheat code of running, but I just don't know how smart of a quarterback he is. And so he's just never on my radar. Like, I'm never thinking, man, I really need to get Kyler here. I don't think I've ever drafted him anywhere. TJ Hawkinson, so again, QB and tight end picked in the first 4 picks, so everything else is going to suffer. In this case, it makes a little more sense because the whole team is young, and I don't see this team being competitive this year, and I don't think Edmondson thinks it's competitive either, the way he kind of built his team out. So Hawkinson's going to be good for a long time. Debo's going to be good. Javonte's going to be good. And Kyler, maybe he'll be a top 5 quarterback every year, and this will look like a great pick several years from now. Jamison Williams, my favorite rookie wide receiver next to Olave. So love this pick. Devontae Smith, love this pick. You just don't know if this year, if either of these guys are going to be better than a wide receiver 2. So, I mean, I'm going to stop trying to pretend like this team's competitive. It's not, and that's okay. You got Chase Claypool, which is a really nice upside pick. Chase Edmonds, maybe he does pretty well, and you could trade him some point in the season because he's probably not in your long-term plans, but who knows. A later pick that I like, Ertz, you could probably trade him to somebody who needs a tight end. I might be calling you at some point to get him, and obviously Julio already traded him. Let's look at Akey's team, and also keep in mind that Akey has an extra wide receiver on his team named A.J. Brown. So let's talk about the picks first. So DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, Zeke. he is trying to win right now. He is trying to make the playoffs, make a name for himself, get it done. Mark Andrews was the top tight end last year. Got 3 running backs could easily finish in the top 10. Cortland Sutton could easily strong, but I could see him being a strong wide receiver too. Low end wide receiver 1 if he has a big year with Russell Wilson, and you got the stack here with Russell Wilson. So that's a lot of points right there. It's still pretty early to do the QB tight end duo. Like, I think I would like this team even more if you waited and got like Stafford here instead of Dameon Pierce. And what if you went like, I don't know, Allen Robinson here and then Russell Wilson? I think that I would really, really like that draft for a competitive team. Maybe you could have gotten Prescott here. Who knows? But it's a really interesting team. Pierce, I feel like Pierce was picked too early for my taste. He's a rookie on a bad team. I don't really know. He could be great, but it's not a bad depth pick. Stevenson makes a lot of sense. Lazard makes a lot of sense on a competitive team. And then, you got to take your chances with some of these players. What picks do I like? I mean, Jalen Tolbert is a really interesting upside pick at wide receiver. And you need those at wide receiver. You need to take some chances there. So I like that a lot. So super competitive team after trading your first and your future first, future second for A.J. Brown. Got to win now. Got to do everything you can to win now. An injury to one of your running backs could be deadly, but you could say that about any team in a 14-team league. So definitely going for it hard. I like it. The strategy is obvious. Just would have switched around a few of the picks. I'm dying here. I'm going to get some water before we go on to the next one. All right, entering the home stretch here. So Bryce, take a look at Bryce's team. Bryce wanted to lock up Josh Allen really badly. Was worried he wasn't going to make it back to him, so he picked him a little early, but that's all good. Got his guy. Got the connection to Diggs. Got Pittman, Evans. Lots of good wide receivers. And then went heavy on the running backs. So these are not my favorite rounds to go heavy on the running backs because they all have a lot of question marks. I do think he got some good value here with Fournette and, maybe Rashad Penny could be really good if he continues his campaign from last year. Not a big Harris fan, but we'll see what happens there. Rashad White, I really wanted him, so interesting stuff. Also, getting Christian Kirk that late was pretty awesome for you. I think that's going to be a great depth piece and could be easily be one of your flex plays. Because I just only see like maybe 2 of your running backs really popping this year. I do like that you handcuff Fournette, though, so for future purposes, that's going to be really nice. As far as later picks, I mean, Njoku that late for your starting tight end, I love that. I think you waited just the right amount of time and got a guy that could be really good. So this will be a competitive team, but I'm worried about the running backs, I guess. That's all I got. Lewis's team is hilarious. It's like Sam Presti up in here. He's starting, middle schoolers on his team. Already traded A.J. Brown, which I want to talk about for a second. I don't understand that for either side particularly well. And let me say why. So Lewis drafted a very young team. A.J. Brown is very young, and he's going to be good for a very long time. What are you expecting to get out of that future first and second? Like, at best, a great outcome for those picks is one of them turns into A.J. Brown. That's like a great outcome. Now, you could hit on both the picks, and you made some money there. But I'm dying. So I love the Pitts pick. I don't love gutting your roster that early. You're trying to build a roster here. You're not trying to build picks like a war chest. You got to build a roster. So I'm giving you a hard time, but Aki as well. I can give him a hard time for trading his pick pretty early. What happens if a few weeks into the season a lot of his guys are hurt? The trading that pick's gonna be really silly looking. You get a Zeke injury, get a Mark Andrews injury. That team's gonna be in trouble. Or even just a Russell Wilson injury. But I know you could say that about any team. It's just scary. It's a scary proposition to me to trade your first super early. It's also scary. It also feels like just a treadmill kind of move to trade a young player for picks. Like, I get trading an old player for picks, but trading a young player for picks, a young good player. If you don't believe in AJ Brown, which I think is the premise behind this whole thing, if you think other people believe in AJ Brown more than you, I mean, why not just pick a young player that you believe in? Like, what about picking like a Higgins or a Waddle or somebody like that if you believe in them, or a DK Metcalf? Like, whoever you believe in, just pick them instead with that pick, and you've got yourself a locked-in spot for your roster for many years instead of picks. It's not like AJ Brown was going to keep you from getting the number one pick this year. I guess that's my logic, but that's my rant. Obviously, this team is going to be building for the future. Lots of good wide receivers. I love the Kenneth Walker pick. I would keep him because he's going to be good for a long time. Kyle Pitts is locked in for that wide receiver or the tight end spot. And you got some good quarterbacks in Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. You could trade Watson for some picks very easily. He fell very far. He's probably going to be better than some of the quarterbacks drafted before him. We'll see. And we're all going to look stupid. And then I guess looking at your later picks, feel like you nailed a ton of your later picks. I love them. I'm not just saying that because I gave you a hard time about your trade earlier, but Zamir White, Jelani Woods, Romeo Doubs, Shakir, Kyron Williams, Velus Jones, Daniel Bellinger. These are all players that the Dynasty community loves. So if we're going with the hive mind of Dynasty Fantasy Football Reddit, you nailed your draft. Now, we'll see when you're good. Like I said, trading young players for picks is a strange proposition. So if you want to continually rebuild, that's a good way to do it. Looking at my team, I was pretty happy with my team, but it's kind of weird for sure. I attempted to go for like a blended old and young team. Never had Eckler or Devontae Adams in their primes on my team. So I'm excited to have them. Huge DK Metcalf fan, so I'm basically going to say I like all these players. I don't even know if it's worth going over my team because, yeah, obviously I liked them. I picked them. If I had to say anything about my team, my running back depth is pretty gross. My running backs are kind of old. And I'm betting a lot on that San Francisco offense and Trey Lance. I'm hoping that he is the shit. And if he is, then I like my team a lot. I think I can be competitive this year and competitive for a long time. The tight end spot is rough. I got my guy of the future, Trey McBride, who I'm really excited about. But, Albert O, Brevin Jordan, Isaiah Likely, even though Reddit's blowing up about Likely right now. Who knows? He's the second tight end on that team. So what is the likelihood he is amazing? Pun intended. But I really like this team. I'm excited to have Zach Wilson as a QB too. He could pop into something. People were drafting him really high in rookie drafts last year. Just because he had one bad season, are we really down on him? The injury and all that stuff. We'll see. It's just a complete upside pick. My team has a lot of possible outcomes. It could be really competitive this year. or Trey Lance could struggle, and we could see a team. I'm one injury away from being not that competitive because of my running backs. Metcalf could be bad. Who knows? But I got players I like, and I had a fun time. So enough about me. Y'all don't care about me. Let's talk about Waldrop. So Waldrop went full, competitive build, and that's fine. I think we all kind of saw that coming with his mock drafts. Got Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones. Could all finish top 5 at their position very easily. Dak Prescott could finish top 10. Wouldn't be shocked if Allen Robinson was a wide receiver 1 this year. I'm a big Hollywood fan. We'll see in that offense if he is more than a wide receiver 2. I just don't see anybody on this team that is likely to be a wide receiver 1. Honestly, I believe in Allen Robinson the most of this bunch. Mike Williams could do it, and he did it last year. He was just super inconsistent, so it's hard to believe that he'll do it again. I think getting Prescott and Aaron Rodgers on this team, I don't really understand the logic behind that. I think instead of Rodgers, like Melvin Gordon, Christian Kirk, Lazard, Tyler Lockett, there's a lot of picks you can make that would be more useful to this team, because now it's like, okay, what do I do with like Mecole Hardman? Kenny Golladay is a great pick. I like that. I'm a big Pacheco fan, just like the rest of the Reddit, because I don't have a brain for myself. But I would say this is a very competitive team. Going to need a wide receiver at some point to really break out. So hopefully Hollywood or Mike Williams really pops this year. Mike Williams was super fun last year, the first part of the season, but the ride was really bumpy after that. But what you're hoping for is that Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, and Dak really just carry you to a championship. Totally possible. Totally possible. As far as tight ends, Evan Ingram this late in the game, it looks pretty interesting. He could get a lot of work. I just feel like if he couldn't make it on the Giants, why do we think he can make it on the Jags? I don't know. He could be an integral part to this offense, though. Took a bunch of shots on tight ends. We'll see if any of them pan out. That's going to be a sore spot for this team for sure. But you know that. Not telling you anything you don't know. I could definitely see Waldrop trading a pick for a wide receiver in the middle of the season if some of these guys just don't do anything. But I like the chances for each one of these guys. I mean, Galladay's the 1 on his offense. Thielens the 2. Allen Robinson's the 2. But these are good offenses. Galladay's not on a good offense, but the rest of these guys are on really good offenses. So a lot of touchdown potential. A lot of guys I see finishing like as a wide receiver too, though. So we'll see. Maybe it's another year of Waldrop winning a championship. I think he's got a really good shot. I think Akey is probably my favorite in terms of chances to win a championship right now, and built, for the future as well. A little bit of a younger build than what we're seeing over here, just with the Swift pick and Mixon. They're a little younger. Mixon is 26, but like a little younger than this Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook build. And I think Juckett's a surprising competitive team as well. I'm going to go over to Josh here. I think this is a pretty competitive team. I think we'll be seeing him in the playoffs as well. So those are my predictions. I'm looking forward to the rookie draft next year when Lewis has all the picks, and hope you guys enjoyed.